Good evening. Sadiq Khan has called it a landmark day for our city. The new ultra-low emission zone came into effect at midnight, covering 140 square miles, or a quarter of the capital. It means vehicles that don't meet a specific set of emission standards now have to pay a daily charge of £12.50 to drive within the North and South Circular, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Environmental campaigners say it will save lives, while its critics say it's been rushed through and it's another hardship on the finances of businesses already impacted by the pandemic. Our political correspondent Simon Harris reports.
The small print beneath road signs has been warning drivers what to expect. Today was D-Day for London's newest anti-pollution measure. The expanded ultra-low emission zone will apply 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Friends that come to visit us whose cars aren't compliant have to pay £12.50 for the pleasure of visiting us.
It's not on really, because it's hurting a lot of people on a lower wage.
It's a good idea, but just that it's being rushed. That's my view anyway.
The first ultra-low emission zone covered the same streets in central London as the congestion charge. The new zone is almost 20 times bigger and includes every road inside the North and South Circulars. Ella Kissy-Deborah was 9 when she died after an asthma attack. Her mother Rosamond, who met the mayor today, says if the ULEZ had existed a decade ago, Ella might still be alive.
There wouldn't have been as many filthy diesel cars on the road, and it's the particulate matter and the nitrogen, the dioxide, which ultimately brought Ella's short life to an end.
Dave runs a scaffolding firm at Romford in East London. 70% of his customers are in the new zone, but his 2 trucks are old, so he'll have to pay the £12.50 charge.
It's going to have a major impact on us because we're going to have to probably avoid that and seek work in the suburbs.
Why don't you just buy new trucks?
Because of the pandemic, it's had a massive impact on our financial capability to be able to go and purchase a £20,000 to £30,000 vehicle.
Dave is among tens of thousands of drivers who'll be out of pocket. Transport for London estimates 110,000 vehicles a day will have to pay the ULEZ charge. Drivers who don't face a fine of up to £160. 800 cameras which can read number plates will help enforce the expanded zone. The Conservatives want an amnesty for drivers.
What we're saying is there should be a properly funded scrappage scheme, and we've identified that £50 million, and there should be a month-long amnesty from fines so that people do not wake up to surprise fines of nearly £100 next week.
Will TfL start handing out fines straight away?
TfL will make sure that anybody who comes into the area who doesn't pay the fee will be sent a fine. That's why it's so important.
So no grace period?
Well, I think it's really important that people recognise that the consequence of driving a non-compliant vehicle is more pollution.
Sadiq Khan said the new zone would allow 4 million Londoners to benefit from cleaner air. Simon Harris, ITV News, Stratford.
Good evening. After more than 18 months of COVID uncertainty, false dawns and crucially empty tills, there was finally some good news for the capital's bars, restaurants and shops today. In his budget, the Chancellor promised major tax cuts, making alcohol cheaper, while also cutting retail business rates. He called it the biggest shake-up in years, but not everyone is happy. The Mayor Sadiq Khan criticised what he called a lack of overall investment in the capital, saying levelling down London is not the way to level up the country. Our political correspondent Simon Harris has more.
London's pub trade got a helping hand today. The Prime Minister and Chancellor dropped in on a brewery in Bermondsey just hours after the government unveiled a series of measures to help the hospitality industry. The first round from Rishi Sunak was a halving of business rates.
Pubs, music venues, cinemas, restaurants, hotels, theatres and gyms. Any eligible business can claim a discount on their bills of 50% up to a maximum of £110,000.
As well as the 50% cut in business rates, the Chancellor announced a shake-up of alcohol duty. The tax on draft beer and cider will be cut by 5%, and a planned increase on all beers, wines and spirits duty has been scrapped. At the French House in Soho, the landlady was up for a party.
It's fabulous, it's fabulous. That will save me over £50,000 a year, which we can invest into other things, and staff and the rest of it, and training, and happy days.
But the hospitality trade's recovery from the pandemic is still fragile. The owners of London's bars and restaurants might have some reason to celebrate today, but they're still anxious about the coming months. If the rise in COVID infections forces the government to adopt Plan B, including home working, then many businesses in central London will take a hit. The next 3 months are often referred to as the Golden Quarter, from Halloween to New Year's Eve, when bars and restaurants traditionally earn 40% of their annual profits.
We would anticipate you would see hospitality revenues halved as a result of moving to Plan B, and that means that many of those businesses, particularly in the centre of London, would simply be unsustainable. Those jobs would be lost for good.
The budget focused heavily on the government's levelling up agenda to boost other parts of Britain. London's mayor wasn't happy.
In today's budget, for example, £7 billion in transport funding, which we welcome across the country. Not a penny for Transport for London. Announcement today from the government, £1.2 billion towards a levelling up fund. Not a penny towards London.
The Chancellor described the cut in duty on draft beer as a long-term investment in British pubs, which would see the price of a pint falling by 3p.
Simon, a boost for hospitality then, but the cladding crisis was also talked about in the budget.
Yes, we're all familiar with the horror stories of leaseholders facing crippling bills of tens of thousands of pounds. Well, today the Chancellor confirmed the £5 billion fund announced earlier this year to remove unsafe cladding from many tall buildings. He also revealed where the money is going to come from. Essentially, it's going to be property firms, big construction companies which make profits of more than £25 million a year are going to be asked to bankroll it. They're going to be hit with a residential property developer tax. But one campaign group, End Our Cladding, dismissed the tax as a drop in the ocean, saying many of these firms benefit massively from public grants to build new homes.
OK, Simon, thank you. And finally, it is that time of the year where, for one morning, attention at Westminster is swapped from politics to pooches. MPs bring their dogs to the gardens around the Houses of Parliament for the annual Dog of the Year show. Sir David Amess always used to take part, and so this year, less than 2 weeks after he was killed, his friends brought along his dog, Vivienne. Our political correspondent Simon Harris was there.
Politics is a competitive business. When MPs enter their pets in the Westminster Dog of the Year, it's usually in the hope of taking first prize. But this year was different.
I've no idea about winning or not. I think really we're here to remember Sir David Amess as well and his dog, and we'd all like to see his dog winning rather than our own.
Yes, the smart money was on Vivienne, a French bulldog belonging to the Amess family. Two of Sir David's close friends and parliamentary colleagues agreed to chaperone Vivienne on her big day.
You look at Vivienne and you see David in her, in the sense that, you know, you can't but not love her, and she's absolutely adorable, but also she's a winner, and I'm certain she's going to be a winner today.
David was asked a few weeks ago, why should people vote for Vivienne? And he said because Vivienne wants Southend to become a city.
Southend's city status has become Sir David's legacy. He first took part in the Dog of the Year competition in 2006 with Isabel, a Staffy rescue dog.
If you look at her very closely, she's like a gremlin.
David was great fun on Dog of the Year Day. He was a huge part of this, really entered into the spirit of it, really took part and was really passionate about dog welfare.
In this contest, the owners are judged on their commitment to animal rights. The dogs merely have to show up and behave.
He's all right. He's very bouncy. He's very excited because he loves playing with other dogs. And see if I get pulled away in a minute if he makes a dash for one of them. But at the moment, so far so good.
But when the winner was announced, there was no surprise. Vivienne topped an online poll and won over the judges.
We feel really emotional today. I feel very emotional because I want David to be here and to join in the wonderful success of Vivienne's victory today.
For once in Parliament, there was no debate. There was only one top dog. Simon Harris, ITV News, Westminster.